Another week on the Sturry Link Road scheme, and once again the ground tells the story before anything else does. What was already forming beneath the surface over recent weeks is now starting to shift into a more defined shape. Earth that was recently being moved, shaped and corrected is now being cleared down to the levels needed for the next stage of construction. Stone that once formed working areas is being stripped back and redistributed, making way for new formations to take hold across multiple zones of the site. Across the southern areas, drainage continues to extend through the works. Large diameter pipes and new chambers are being installed, tying different sections of the site together and forming the hidden framework that will eventually control everything from surface water to long-term ground performance. Much of it will never be seen once complete, but right now it dictates where everything else can and cannot happen. To the north of the railway, the landscape is beginning to change in a different way. Topsoil is being stripped back, and the ground is starting to open up around the future infrastructure corridors, including the area that will eventually form part of the wider attenuation system. It is early stages, but the scale of the transformation is becoming more visible with each pass of the machines. Alongside this, material movements continue across the site. Lorries are in constant rotation, with excavated material being removed from access C while imported stone is brought in to support the developing platforms. The haul roads themselves are beginning to take on a more established form as different sections are progressively built out. And then there are the signs of what comes next. Plant that has been sitting in preparation begins to move again. Equipment is being checked, assembled and brought through its final stages of commissioning. It is a reminder that while much of the week has been about ground preparation and logistics, the focus is slowly shifting towards heavier structural work ahead. Nothing here is happening in isolation. Every cut, every load, every delivery is part of a wider sequence that is gradually pulling the site into alignment with the design that sits behind it. And as the week unfolds, those connections start to become a little clearer. The attenuation pond is a key part of the site's drainage strategy, designed specifically to manage water generated from the road surface once the scheme is operational. Instead of allowing rainfall and runoff from the carriageway to discharge directly into the surrounding environment, the system collects and temporarily stores that water during periods of heavy rainfall. It then releases it at a controlled rate into the wider drainage network, preventing sudden surges downstream. On screen here, I've overlaid the scheme drawing and highlighted the approximate location of where this feature is being formed within the northern section of the site. At this stage, works are still in their early earthworks phase, with the area just beginning to be opened up and shaped in line with the design levels shown on the plans. Over time, this will develop from a stripped and formed area into a fully engineered basin that forms a critical part of the road's long-term drainage system. As we make our way along the public right-of-way, these overhead power lines are another piece of infrastructure that will need to change before work can progress here. Before construction of the northern abutment begins, 2 spans of the overhead electricity lines will be diverted underground, clearing the route for the future viaduct. It's not the most obvious part of a project like this, but it's another important step that has to happen before the main structural works can move forward. Hall Road D has now reached the entrance to the new working platform, marking another step forward in opening up this part of the site. Around this point in the week, deliveries of imported aggregate briefly slowed while drainage was installed across the Hall Road. Once those works were complete, deliveries soon returned to full pace, as we'll see later in the episode. Over the past few weeks, thousands of tons of aggregate have been placed here in carefully engineered layers. Materials such as geogrid and terram are incorporated into the construction to strengthen and stabilize the formation, creating a working surface capable of supporting the heavy construction traffic and plant that will be using this route throughout the project. Along the edge of the railway, ecology works are now underway with the first stage of a 2-stage vegetation cut. Under the supervision of ecologists, the vegetation is initially trimmed down to around 150 millimeters. This first cut is designed to encourage any reptiles and other small wildlife to move naturally out of the working area into surrounding habitat before the vegetation is cut any shorter. It's a carefully managed process that helps minimize the impact on protected species while allowing construction to continue safely. Later in the episode, we'll see the second stage of this operation taking place. With the initial vegetation reduction complete, the second stage of the ecology works can now begin. Under the supervision of an ecologist, the remaining vegetation is cut down to ground level, but only after allowing time for any reptiles and other small wildlife to move safely into neighbouring habitat following the first cut. Once this stage is finished, the area becomes far less suitable for reptiles to return, allowing construction activities to move forward while minimising the risk of harm to protected species. It's another example of how ecological considerations are carefully built into major infrastructure projects from the very beginning. Friday marked another significant milestone for Platform D. From first thing in the morning, tipper lorries were already queuing, ready to begin placing the next layer of imported aggregate. Around 2,000 tons of stone were delivered over the course of the day, equivalent to roughly 100 fully loaded 8-wheel tipper lorries. After several quieter days, Friday finally brought renewed activity to the southern abutment. Both the crawler crane and the piling rig were back in motion, with work focused on completing the rig's mobilization rather than beginning piling itself. Although the machine was erected into its working position last week, that doesn't mean it's immediately ready to start drilling. Before a piling rig can be commissioned on a project of this scale, it must undergo a series of thorough examinations, inspections and functional tests to ensure that every system is operating correctly and safely. Only once those checks have been completed can the rig be signed off for use. Throughout the day, additional components continue to arrive and be assembled. Auger sections, drill strings and other specialist tooling were progressively installed, gradually transforming what had been a partially assembled machine into a piling rig approaching operational readiness. It's easy to underestimate just how much preparation goes into this stage. The drilling equipment has to be configured specifically for the foundations it's about to construct, with every component designed to work together as a complete system before the first pile is even started. Here at the southern abutment, the foundations will be formed using 16 continuous flight auger, or CFA, piles. 14 of those are the main abutment piles and will extend 25 metres into the ground, while a further 2 piles supporting the wing walls will reach 16 metres. Interestingly, those aren't the actual drilling depths the rig will achieve. Because the piling rig is operating from an elevated working platform, the auger has to travel even further before reaching the final formation level. That means the main piles require drilling to around 28 metres, while the wing wall piles will be drilled to approximately 19 metres. Those foundations will transfer the enormous loads from the future viaduct into the underlying ground, providing the stability needed to support the structure for decades to come. Every pile has to be constructed to an exact specification, with depth, alignment and concrete placement all carefully controlled throughout the process. Looking at the equipment being assembled today also gives an appreciation of the scale involved. The auger itself is built up from multiple sections, allowing its length to be matched to the required drilling depth. As each section is connected, the machine becomes capable of reaching further into the ground until it's fully configured for the work ahead. While no piles are being constructed just yet, this is still a significant milestone. After weeks of earthworks, drainage, haul roads and working platforms, we're now seeing preparations for one of the first major structural operations on the project. The next time we see this rig in action, it won't simply be assembling machinery, it'll be drilling the foundations that will eventually support the southern end of the Sturry Link Road viaduct. One of the most important parts of the scheme is also one of the least visible once everything is complete: the drainage system. Built in sections, it runs beneath the future road and surrounding infrastructure, connecting up through chambers and long stretches of pipework that gradually carry water away from the surface into controlled routes designed to manage it safely. What looks simple from above is actually a carefully graded system below ground, where every section has to meet the next with precision to maintain flow. As the camera drops down into the trench, you get a different perspective on it entirely. Steel trench boxes hold the sides in place, allowing work to continue safely at depth. From here, the scale changes completely. A pipe that looks relatively modest from the surface becomes something far more dominant when you're standing alongside it at formation level. Moving through the chamber, you can start to trace the line of the system itself, one section connecting to the next, disappearing away beneath the site. And looking through the run of pipe, it stretches out in a straight line, disappearing into the distance, forming the route that will eventually carry water away from the carriageway and surrounding infrastructure long after construction is complete. It's the kind of work that rarely gets noticed once the scheme is finished, but right now it's one of the clearest reminders of how much is happening beneath the surface. As we move down the haul road towards Platform D, the scale of activity across this area is clear. Throughout the week, large volumes of imported aggregate have been delivered, placed and processed across the formation. Thousands of tons have gone in, built up in layers, then rolled and compacted into a stable engineered surface, rising towards its design levels of around a metre. Across the platform, operations continue in sequence. Dozers are shaping and pushing material, while compaction plant follows behind, locking each layer into place. It's a continuous cycle of delivery, placement and compaction as the platform builds out. From above, the scale becomes clearer. This is a large, active working platform, forming the base for ongoing construction activities. Along the haul road, lorries continue to feed the operation, keeping material moving and progress constant across the site. And from the air, the change is obvious. What was previously open ground is now becoming a structured, engineered platform ready for the next stage. Now over on Haul Road C, heading down towards the north roundabout and north abutment. A significant cut has been taken through here this week, bringing the levels down to match the required formation. This also ties into the final design and ensures the gradients work for construction traffic accessing the northern platform. Back on the southern abutment, attention returns to the piling rig. Over the past couple of weeks, it's been assembled on site piece by piece, drill sections, augers and supporting equipment, alongside a full program of inspections and checks ahead of commissioning. Now fully erected, the rig stands at around 42 meters tall, making it one of the most prominent pieces of plant on site. As the drone tracks down its length, the scale becomes clear, from the top of the mast all the way down the drill string to formation level. The full height of the system is on display. At ground level, the tooling sits ready at the working platform, positioned for the next stage of operations that will form the deep foundations for the southern abutment. And from below, looking back up, the sheer scale of the rig dominates the site, towering above the platform and marking a clear shift in the project's phase. From earthworks and preparation into structural construction, and this is where the week comes to a close.